we'll be going right into our newspaper review. For the first newspaper that we have for you today is a Daily Trust. Right in front, on the front page, we have protests against hardship, insecurity to hold in 20 states. This is against June 12th, says the organizers. On the top right, we have why INEC is yet to conduct by-elections in 7 seats of the National Assembly, which is on page 12 of the Daily Trust newspaper if you want more on this. We have Northeast to experience 4-day blackout. That is on page 25 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Gunmen kill 4 in fresh attack in Benue. That is quite sad. We have 96 houses burnt down in Plateau community. That is on page 37 of the Daily Trust newspaper. We have ICC commissioned and renamed after Tinubu. That's on page 8 of Daily Trust. On the bottom, we have again truck drivers killed in Imo State. That is on pages 5 and 6 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Make sure you grab yourself a copy and stay informed. Next up, we have The Guardian. On boldly in front, on The Guardian, we have less than 30% of public schools have computer labs, ICT savvy pupils. On the top left, we have days of electoral impunity over or be declared. That's on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. Now, Senate to change presidential inauguration venue, mandate June 12th address. That's on page 3 as well of the Guardian newspaper. On the top right, we have 150,000 cases of babies born with sickle cell disease yearly in Nigeria. We have Knox Trail Wike's stakeholders meeting as PDP crisis deepens. That is on page 6 on the Guardian newspaper. We have June 12th, Lamido urges Tinubu to immortalize Humphrey Nwosu. Down below, we have World Bank bullish on Nigerian economy, marks of growth forecast to 3.6%. On the right, we have Plateau 58 killed and 31 injured, 15,000 displaced in 6 weeks. At the bottom, we have power outage plunges Adamawa, Borno, Taraba, Yobe in darkness. That is on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. Make sure you grab yourself a copy and stay informed. All right, next up, we have the Daily Monitor. Right in front, we have 2027 ACF slams APC over premature campaign activities, says ruling parties. Early campaigns showed distraction from governance. At the top, on the left, we have World Bank cuts global growth forecast to 2.3% for 2025. We have Rivers APC to Fubura. We are not a dumping ground for political sinners. That's on page 15 of the Daily Monitor. Alleged 5.2 billion naira fraud, court rejects ex-JAM registrar's no case submission. Of June 12th, Democracy Day, protests set to hold across Nigeria. On the bottom, Tinubu to Wike, don't pay attention to busybodies, continue with your good work. On the top of the newspaper, we have Nigeria is the crime scene where citizens live in IDP camps when there's no war, says former presidential candidate Obi. That is on the Daily Monitor. Make sure you grab yourself a copy and stay updated. All right, moving on, we'll be joined to review some of the headlines on the pages of today's newspaper is Ben Shamang, a former director news, a voice of Nigeria. I believe. Yes, good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Morning.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Looking at the front page of Daily Trust today, we have June 12th, protests against hardship, insecurity to hold in 20 states, says organizers. What is your take on this, and how do you think it will affect tomorrow?
Well, the protesters and the organizers have their own rights. They can protest, yes. Um, but again, in terms of the import or the effects of that, well, they'll be protesting. The president will be at the National Assembly addressing in a secured environment, addressing a joint session to talk about democracy itself. But again, will this protest bring some food on the table of Nigerians? Will the lectures at the National Assembly also bring some food at the table of Nigerians, the electorate? We should also be happy that for this long we've had democracy, no military rule. It's good omen for Nigeria that we are moving forward. The only worry is the level at which the politicians are playing the game. When we're talking about insecurity, like the protestants will be saying, there is insecurity, there is hunger, there is anger in town. So what should be done? They actually want government to do something, but it shouldn't just be government alone. People should also join hands to ensure that communities, live peacefully with one another to start with. Issue of hunger, farmer herders clashes, they are an issue, very, very vital and germane. If we have that, food security will be restored. So you can't talk of democracy in empty stomachs. What will you be doing? And that's why people talk about stomach infrastructure. Apologies to Fayoshe, who believes that when you give something to the electorate, they also vote for you, or in most cases, there is hunger. Therefore, democracy can be pocketed because there is hunger.
All right. Uh, just this particular one that caught my eye. It said why INEC is yet to conduct by-elections into 7 seats of the National Assembly. There's still 7 seats that are vacant, and they've not conducted the by-elections for those seats. What are your thoughts on that?
You see, that is taking a very long time, which also means that there are some constituencies, federal constituencies, that, or even at the state level, that do not have representations at the state assemblies or at the National Assembly, Senate, and House of Reps. Now, recall that each time there's going to be election, there's always money being set for the election. That is one. Two, there is also money set aside for conduct of by-elections, or should there be any rerun? So you can see 3 aspects, 3-pronged approaches. Now, you didn't have a rerun at the presidential level. And so what is happening with the money that was set aside for those things? And so INEC should not wake up to tell us that there's no money on ground, there are no logistics, there is insecurity. If there was insecurity and elections were done around the federation, we cannot be talking of a senatorial zone that there is insecurity. We cannot be talking of a local government area or an area for a state assembly that you cannot conduct elections. They should just try and do it. And should they say there's also no money, then they should get in touch with the presidency, because the presidency sponsors, financially, all conducts of elections via the National Assembly.
All right. This one is ICC commissioned, renamed after Tinubu. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, we can see that the Abuja Stadium was renamed after MKO Abiola. We have seen that railway stations have been renamed after prominent Nigerians. And this we also saw that the airport in Minna was also renamed also. Is it after Buhari or something? Now we have the International Conference Center renamed after Babangida. Now these are military guys who built some of these projects. Now under democracy, you come and rename them. Now is that part of the dividends of democracy? I don't think so. I think that yes, it's good when infrastructures are decaying. You just go do some refurbishing, do some retouching, But we also want more projects being delivery to Nigerians. So it's just not enough. You refurbish and rename. No, also construct other things. Kudos to Wike. I can see that he's doing some nice things in FCT, like the one he has done. But I question the renaming, even though I saw him dancing. In other words, he has delivered.
All right. With the incessant attacks that we've been getting on insecurity, for today's front page, we have gunmen kill 4 in fresh attack in Benue, as well as 96 houses burnt down in Plateau State. What is your take on that, due to the fact that it's still ongoing?
Honestly, when they say let's have state police, the northern part of the country that is so much, in fact, was hit. We ought to have seen the governors. They are good at organizing very nice meetings. But when it comes to implementation of resolutions or decisions, you don't see anything. These were people, one would have thought that by now they would have pressurized the government to ensure that a bill, whether it's a federal executive bill or an executive bill rather, or you just organize the governors. And the governors from the northern state will just send a common bill to the National Assembly. And if you realize the National Assembly is wasting your time, so why don't you kind of begin to talk of community policing, and so that the whole of these things will come to a kind of a controlled thing. But many top security people, IGs, DIGs will be saying Nigeria is not yet ripe. Governors will use it for reprisal. Okay, but you now prefer that bandits will just be unleashing uh, deaths on the communities, kill people, destroy, grab their property, and disappear, and nothing is happening. Nobody is being brought to book. Nothing. So I think that the northern part, just like you have in the west, they came out with Amotekun, and they have relative peace there. We expect that the north that is worst hit, they should have been in the front in terms of clamoring and working for to ensure that state policing is been the agenda. Tinubu has been saying, yeah, it's needed. You're talking of Shetima, it's needed, but we don't see it being implemented.
All right. There's a particular headline that caught my eye on The Guardian. It says in 2027 computer-based test target. It said less than 30% of public schools have computer labs and ICT savvy pupils. What is your take on that, especially with this JAM debacle that we had a couple of weeks ago?
Well, I think JAM should work first with some of these governors, some of these local government chairmen or councils. You see, when you say JAM is going to be computer based, you're simply making it a city kind of
Well,
based
JAM is
examination.
already computer
What about
based.
the
Why
rural
is it
areas?
going to be?
No electricity.
Yes.
They have community secondary schools.
Yes.
They
Why is
have
it going to be computer based now?
schools. Can't get to.
I said JAMB is already computer-based. WIAC is going to be computer-based now. So now less than 30% of public schools have computer labs. So how would they manage, to write those examinations?
Exactly, that's the point. Because in villages where you don't have these computers, I can tell you, many students have not touched a computer, a desktop. Not to talk of knowing how to operate, not to talk of how to answer questions via the computer itself. So you don't just, if you must do that, then you have to take care of the villages. How do you take care of them? You cannot just say we stop this. What is the substitution that you have? In the absence of A, then we should have B. Where is that B? So we need to have teachers who can teach anything ICT. We have to have the computers. We have to also have government that are ready to pay for this examination. Outside that, you just see that the villagers will be schemed out, their rights will be trampled upon, they will be denied of their rights, the right to education. And so even when INEC, WAEC, JAM, they all are trying, NECO, they all are trying to go digital. Some people should not be schemed out. They have to be taken care of.
All right. On the June 12th matter, Lamido urges Tinubu to immortalize Humphrey Nwosu. What's your take on that?
Well, my take is you go change INEC headquarters and just say Humphrey Nwosu house or something. How do you want to immortalize the man? And usually it's attempt to either name a street after such a person or a building, but he wasn't the only one who fought for June 12th too. We all were in the streets too. I covered that election in Abeokuta. And of course, we also sniffed some of the tear gas. We inhaled some of the tear gas in Lagos at that time. So the journalists are always being left behind in all of this. And like it is always said, if it is not reported, it never happened. So the journalists too, yes, you can take care of Humphrey Nwosu, but those in the thick of it all, the journalists, what is it that have been done to them? You don't hear anything about them, as if they are never key players in a democracy. After when they say the fourth estate of the realm, you talk of the National Assembly, the executive, that's the legislature, the executive, the judiciary, and the fourth estate of the realm is the journalist who will kind of be the bridge between all these three arms and the public. So now the public, the journalist is left behind. So if the government wants, well, yes, they can immortalize the man. Good luck to him.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ben Shamang, for contributing to our newspaper review, and have a great day.
Thank you for having me.
All right. That will be all for today's Daybreak on Trust TV. Thank you for sticking with us all the way to the end. Make sure you tune in tomorrow at 8 a.m. for a special show. Tomorrow is going to be June 12th. Make sure you tune in, and we will be very excited for your contributions as well when the time is right. Make sure you tune in to Daybreak tomorrow. I am Hawa Adamikiawa. Thank you for watching.